Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Chris Stephens is an SNP MP, and he is slightly forgetful, because on one occasion he arrived in Westminster, where he does his day job. I won't say worked, because let's face it, but he arrived and he patted his pockets down and realised, like we've all done before, he's left his phone at home. Unfortunately, of course, his home is 400 miles away. So what did he do? Just use the landline, possibly? Use the internet to communicate and to say, can you sort it out and I'll get, make sure it's safe, I'll get it when I go home? No, he didn't do those things. Instead, he arranged for it to be couriered down from Scotland to Westminster at a cost of £130. And of course, he's put that on expenses. This is no way an expense. This is his mistake. This is his fault. This should be his cost. He should be forced to repay this. He should be made to repay this. And he should be made to apologise for even the idea of thinking he could get away with such a blatant misuse of public money. To call him a thief is probably too strong, but certainly to call him someone who is very light with other people's money is certainly not beyond the bounds of possibility. This was not anything that is a genuine expense in being an MP. This was a moron for getting his phone and getting other people to pay for it. And it's not on. We'll have a look at this story, and I do hope he is forced to repay this quickly, just to make sure that it won't happen by anyone else. If nothing else, it sends a message out. So let's have a look at the story, see what's going on. So senior SNP MP, who forgot his phone at home while travelling to Westminster, had it couriered to London and handed the taxpayers with a £130 bill by claiming it on his expenses. Records show Chris Stephens made the claim of £129.88 on December the 12th, 2022. Critics said the claim meant the taxpayers were paying for the MP's forgetfulness. Yeah, and this isn't anything that should be paid for by the public. This is his mistake. It's his expense. He should take that on the chin and fork out of his own well-paid job. Let's face it, he's not exactly short of a shilling. He can afford to do this. A senior nationalist MP landed the taxpayers with a £130 bill to transport his mobile phone 400 miles after he left it at home when travelling to Westminster. Chris Stephens used the parliamentary expenses system to pay for a courier to collect his phone from his Glasgow home and take it to London rather than paying for it himself. Critics condemned the outrageous claim by the left-wing MP for forcing taxpayers to pay for his forgetfulness. These left-wingers always want equality and fairness. They always say, everyone's got to be the same. Everyone's got to be the same except me, because I need to be able to take this money from the public. Mr Stephens is part of the SNP Westminster leader Stephen Flynn's front bench team as a levelling up spokesman. Well, he's certainly levelling up his own bank account. And when contacted by the Mail yesterday, the Glasgow Southwest MP promised the money would be paid back to the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, the body which manages Westminster's expenses scheme. He shouldn't be paying it back, because he should never have taken it in the first place. And the only reason he's offering to pay it back is simply because he's been caught. Had he not been caught, the thought of paying this back would never have entered his head. Newly published records show Mr Stephens made the claim of £129.88 on December the 12th last year. The description of the claim states, courier for MP's phone, as was left in Glasgow and needed for debate tomorrow. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? It's your phone, it's your responsibility. Annie Wells, Conservative MSP for Glasgow Region, said Chris Stephens has some brass neck expecting the taxpayer to pick up the tab for his forgetfulness. The public pay for SNP incompetence is a familiar headline, and how many videos have we done about that? This at £130 is nothing in comparison, but it's the principle that counts. She went on, there's no justification for it in this instance. Chris Stephens must reimburse the authorities immediately and apologise for the submitting of this outrageous claim in the first place. It's the SNP through and through. They're all like it, aren't they? Christine Jardine, Liberal Democrat MP, and I'll be fair, they're all like it. When I say that, I mean all parties, it isn't just the SNP. Let's not make this party political for once. All MPs are like this. Christine Jardine, Liberal Democrat MP for Westminster West, and the party's Scottish Affairs spokesman, said it is utterly outrageous that Chris Stephens expects the taxpayer to foot the bill for his disorganisation. He'll be claiming for losing his keys next. And I bet there's some that have. Across the UK, millions are looking at their bank balances and working out where to cut back. They don't have the luxury of charging someone else for their screw-ups. People want to see every penny in the public purse spent on vital public services like the NHS, not spent on first-class couriers for Chris Stephens' mobile. And when asked about the expenses claim, Mr. Stephens said he would pay the money back. He said, basically, I left my mobile phone in the house and I couldn't contact folk. I'm paying it back because I've got caught, he didn't say. I'm paying it back on the basis that I accept it was my fault that I left the phone, so I'm paying it back. He keeps talking about paying it back. The question we need to ask is, why did he think it was okay to claim it in the first place? I think we know, don't we? Asked why he claimed it on expenses instead of paying it himself in the first place, Mr. Stephens said, well, it was to get something from A to B and my office arranged it. It was as simple as that. You can still pay for it, you know. You can still pull your credit card out and pay for it. Mr. Stephens told his staff at the time of the claim he would pay the money back to the IPSA, he claims. Conor Holohan, the media campaigner manager of the Taxpayers Alliance, said taxpayers should not be on the hook for the cost of Mr. Stephens' brain fade. And a spokesman for IPSA said the claim was accepted and paid to Mr. Stephens because courier services are a valid cost that can be claimed through the expenses system. Yes, if it's genuine, if you genuinely need to move things from A to B for a particular reason. But there's not that much of a reason, is there? And certainly not paperwork. You can get it printed when you're at the other end. The spokesman also confirmed that as of yesterday morning, there was no agreement in place for the money to be repaid by the MP. So he's talking about repaying it, and yet strangely hasn't. Mr. Stephens' office has now submitted a repayment to the IPSA in relation to the expenses, and the money will be returned. They must be spitting feathers that he got caught, because that's the only reason he's doing it. And so, yes, they're all crooks, every single bloody politician. But trying to fob this off simply because he is an idiot. It won't wash, and he's been caught and he's embarrassed, and it won't happen again. But we need to make sure and scrutinise every damn claim. It goes to show what they think they can pull out of their arses and steal from the public. Anyway, I shall round off. Come on. Tell you what does make me wonder is that we see the things that they are getting caught for, but you wonder how much is going through that they don't get caught for. What kind of weird and wonderful things are they claiming on expenses that no one has ever picked up on or no one's ever sort of exposed? And I'm pretty sure that there's probably some very embarrassing things that the authorities have refused to disclose because it would say perhaps bring in the Houses of Parliament into massive disrepute. You could be all sorts of very weird and wonderful things going through that there's no way that they would want publicised, and so it is conveniently covered up. Wouldn't put it past them. Every single claim should be a matter of public record, and they must have a receipt, and it must be publicised every month. It isn't an issue. It isn't hard. It isn't difficult. You want to put a claim in every month. You put your claim in, and you have every single receipt behind it. And then they are published. And it's as simple as that. Do it that way. People see what you're spending on and people will be aware of it. And some things will be fine. You know, if he wants to take a train from his seat in Glasgow to London, that's fine. I don't have an objection with that. If he takes a first class ticket, then he upgrades himself at his own cost. That would be fair as well. But when you see some of the things they're claiming, it's just totally wrong. Anyway, we know they're all crooks, we know they're all lying bastards, we know they're all thieves at heart, so it shouldn't really come as a surprise. So I shall finish there anyway. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, keep your hand on your wallet when you're next to a politician, and goodbye.